The various Kerbals abandoned on various different celestial bodies around the solar system had been given plenty of time to think. To amuse themselves, some played games whilst others drew pictures. One Kerbal, stuck on an icy, cold rock in the far reaches of the solar system, composed a limerick. There once was a boy named Harvey. He could land any ship in a heartbeat. On taking off he was daft, and so the ship crashed, and that rather ruined the party. The Kerbal had considered changing the final line to, "And now his subscribers think he is balmy," but decided that this simply had too many syllables to be worth the change. Bit of a shame really, because I honestly think that last line is a bit more accurate. Hello, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to The Last Project. In our episode today, after coming out to the far reaches of our solar system and having previously landed a craft on Val, and landing another craft and then taking that craft off and then making it explode spontaneously, we are preparing to go and deliver the final 4. We started out with 6 different habitation modules in 2 different columns, separated out the columns into stacks of 2 and 4, landed 2, and now we have 4 left. And it's going to be 2 for Pol and 2 for Bop. And now that I know how to use my pop filter correctly, Bop and Pop should not present so much of a bother when I'm pronunciating these P and B and T words. See? I used to get spikes in the audio. It used to be like really bad. But now that I actually know how to use a pop filter rather than... Look, I'll explain briefly, although I really ought to be introducing what the video is about, right? The pop filter is a little film of kind of nylon-ish material that sits in front of your mouth, in front of your microphone, so that the air generated by those BP, plosive kind of sounds doesn't go, doesn't like hit your microphone and cause it to vibrate or whatever. I was having my pop filter basically resting on the microphone, which is not good. Because then, as the pop filter moves and absorbs the blast of air coming from my mighty lungs, it touches the microphone and causes the microphone to move as well. It's really terrible. Anyway, words. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship dual colonization mission. So we are going to be transferring out from Val. And we are transferring away from that icy planet, and away from those limericks, and having set up our transfer node and calculated what would be the best thing for us to do, which was pretty much the first trajectory that worked, I am now transferring out to Val, or we are transferring from Val, out to Pol. Pol is actually the outermost of the Julian moons, and so it seems a bit counterintuitive to be going there first, from an inner orbit to an outer orbit back to a slightly inner orbit, to Bop. But the reason that we're doing this is because Pol is less inclined than Bop, and thus making Bop actually a bit harder to get to. Having to change inclination like that when you are at a lower orbital altitude, when you're moving faster, requires more delta V because, you're shifting your trajectory, which means you're combating your momentum, and the more velocity you have, the higher your momentum is, so it takes more energy. And so by going out to Pol first, and getting this over and done with, we are probably saving energy. Maybe. I mean, of course, the whole fact that we're making our inclination change easier might, in theory, account for the extra energy it takes to push our mass out here first. It probably doesn't, but the reason I did it regardless was because it's actually easier. Inclination changes can be a bit tricky, so it's a bit easier to transfer out to Pol. And that is the main guiding factor. But when I do anything, really, the main guiding factor is simply ease. Oh, we do it not because it is easy, but because it is slightly easier than the other goal, is what John F. Kennedy might have said. And here is Pol. This little planet. Now I have this routine of, if I'm going to be landing one of these powered landed modules, because there's no atmosphere, gotta use rocket engines, I'm going to be landing one that is full first, so that I can land it, and I can see how much fuel has been used in the landing, and then, well, we know, so next time we don't have to send down all that fuel. Because we are kind of running low, or at least I think we are running low. It seems like we don't have as much fuel as we might have once done, because our habitation modules aren't fully fueled. Now, Pol and Bop are both very small moons. They really don't require... Sorry, I'm on acid. They don't require the same delta V to land on as something, say, the Moon, or even, hell, Eve, although Eve does have an atmosphere. Let's say Tylo, then. They very much don't require the same delta V as Tylo does to land on. So we don't need a fully fueled habitation module. But to be on the safe side, we have to send one down that's fully fueled for the reasons previously stated. And in doing so, we end up wasting even more fuel. In our situation where we aren't sure whether we have enough fuel to get our transfer module home, if we want to do that, it's a bit of a shame because we have no alternative. Or do we? Now, the sensible option, as has been outlined, is to send one down fully fueled so that we have the best possible chance of landing and we can see exactly how much fuel is used. But whoever said that I would take the sensible option? If my track record over this series is anything to go by, you know that I'm a bit of an idiot, and so I undock the ship. And I burn away, and I have a bit of a thought process going on, because this is fully fueled. I am going to be sensible. I am thinking at this point in time, during the footage you are now watching, I am going to be sensible. I'm going to point to retrograde, not prograde, because that would not be sensible. And then I'm going to deorbit and take my ship down with its 4 Kerbals, and by having fully fueled rockets, I will give the best possible chance of survival to these Kerbals. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm going to burn back towards the station, redock, and transfer away half my fuel. Come on, it's Pol! It's Pol! We don't need this much fuel. It's just overkill. Massively overkill. In fact, this entire series is massively overkill. Because, as some people have pointed out, as many people have pointed out in the comment section, and I have, it may seem to you, refused to acknowledge, if the Kerbal Space Center was destroyed by an asteroid, surely it would make sense to move the ships and the building facilities to a different location on Kerbin, rather than spreading technology out to the far reaches of the solar system where it can't ever be gathered up again and actually used for something. To which my response is, well, if we just moved things on Kerbin, we wouldn't have a series. Meh. So we're going out to every celestial body on the solar system, which if this is your first episode that you're watching of this series, or even of one of my videos, welcome! This is me. I am a bit weird. But you already knew that because you've watched 8 minutes of this video now. No, the important thing to take away is that yes, this series is all about going out to every celestial body in the solar system, using only things that we have launched into orbit over the course of the first episode of this series. So, yes, this is currently episode 5, and we have been to Eve, kind of. We have been to Eve, there are Kerbals alive on Eve, that counts. We have been to Val, and we're now going to Pop. 88 Kerbals are alive around the solar system, 12 have been killed from the original 100, leaving that 88, and how many... It is time for you to wager how many will die in today's episode, in approximately the next minute or so. It is about the next minute. How many will die within the next minute of this video? I know the answer. Do you know how I know? It might seem ridiculous to you, but I know because I was the one who recorded this footage. I would like to try that. I would like to try commentating over something that I've never thought of that before. I could do a series where you guys do a mission. Oh my god, this is brilliant. Hang on, video, wait, hang on, just pause. Stop playing right now. Oh, damn, I can't stop it, it's too much efforting. It's too much effort. We land the ship, and we landed, and yeah, good, landed. No, Kerbal's dead, you all lost your bets. No, but more importantly, I could do a series where you guys send in footage of your own missions, and I commentate it blind. That would be hilarious! That would be so cool! Don't you think? Oh, I've got to do that. Because then people would send in videos of missions that go wrong, and I'd commentate it very seriously, and then I'd start to see them making mistakes and be like, I could do the whole Stanley Parable kind of thing. Ah, yes. Yes, this is what we will do. Although I don't know how you're going to get me HD video files and convince me to download them. A thought for another time, perhaps. Just comment on whether you like that idea in the comments below. And don't, yeah. I will sort something out in the future. I'll consider it when I'm not on acid, and we'll sort something out. Anyway, to recap, the events that just happened, we landed a ship after emptying some of the fuel from the station so that it wasn't fully fueled, and it landed and Vine, the Kerbal got out, planted the flag, yay, everything's good. Now for the second ship, I've emptied out even more fuel, because it clearly didn't take much fuel to land on Ball. And then looking at the marker of how much fuel we actually have, down there in the bottom left, I decided to redock it and maybe take a little bit more. Because emptying out, like leaving us with only one small side tank's worth of fuel, probably isn't particularly smart. Even though I have proved that I can actually land modules successfully. I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I can actually land modules successfully. Really weird. Anyway, this is the second attempt. If you remember, in all our previous missions, it's pretty much the second attempt that always fails. So, you have bets once more in the next minute. How many Kerbals will die? Well, before that happens, let's talk about this. You see the marker just jumped up. The marker is now descending. It is now, well, it's not descending, it's stuck in space, a fixed finite position distance above the ground, and we're not entirely sure why. I swapped to it, and it appears to be on the ground, swapped back to the ship, and it is on the ground. There was a weird kind of marker bug that we've just experienced there. And it makes me worried, and I'll tell you why it makes me worried, in a calm, authoritative, explanative tone. This makes me worried because I'm not quick loading. And if I don't quick load, I can't fix the problems that occur as a result of bugs. The reason I'm not quick loading is because I won't have to live with the consequences of my actions. I think it gives me a bit more of a risk element that I was lacking from KSP once I started getting reasonably good at it, although the events in this series may counteract that statement somewhat. So it's the risk element that I quite like the idea of, but if it's down to bugs that I fail, that is a bit disappointing, so we'll have to keep an eye out, is what I'm trying to say. We'll have to keep an eye out for future bugs in this video and series of videos. Now, I've landed this module. If we go back to the idea of Val, where I landed the module safely, then Pogoat, oh no, you're not doing it again, are you? Harvey, what is wrong with you? I'll tell you what is wrong with me. I am on acid. And also, I am just Harvey. And I have a bit of a weird personality. To sum up how much of a weird personality I have, ignoring the fact that during this pogo attempt I actually managed to land it successfully, which is pretty nice. Indicative of the way things are gonna go, hopefully. To show you how weird I am, I have created an online pseudonym for myself. Because HOCgaming is a nice name, but HOCgaming is not an interesting name. HOCgaming, it is just meh. It's just 3 letters followed by the word gaming. It's really rather boring. So, from now on, I have decided if I play a game, which requires some registration in the form of a username, and I don't want to associate it with my YouTube account, I'm going to be risky blinking. Risky blinking. Risky blinking. The point is, I'm weird, yeah? Okay? You understand. If we take an example from my life... Oh yeah, and space and stuff. My life, I am a student, I go to school, and I have friends, believe it or not. I haven't scared them all away. Yet. They think I'm weird, because I'm overly confident in my speaking. You know how I'm kind of booming right now. I'm projecting my voice. I'm trying to be eloquent and I'm trying to enunciate my words correctly without pausing and creating a nice rhythm to which I can speak. Grammar comes sideline to this, and unfortunately I also have a tendency to talk this way in school. Which for other people can be quite awkward. I don't do that, usually. For me, it can be quite fun, and this is why I make YouTube videos, because it is fun. Talking like this to myself, ignoring the perceptions that people have of me as a result, is all part of the game that is life. I believe that if you spend too much time being self-conscious about how others perceive you, you'll never get anything done, and you'll always be worried. So it's better just to not care, and it's better to do what you find fun, and be who you are. So after that little life story, here we are at Bop! Man, that happened so quickly. That happened really quickly. That happened... I can't do it. Never mind. Words. So here we are on Bop. We did a transfer out from Pol. We landed both modules successfully and planted one flag. Not in that order, chronologically speaking. And now we have Bop, which is potentially even lighter. Its acceleration due to gravity on the surface is even smaller than Pol's. I think, maybe. I'm not sure. At any rate, we are in a really rather low orbit, and we want to be in a higher orbit, but first, we kind of want to skim across the ground because that's fun. In fact, actually, at the rate we're going, it doesn't seem like we're going to be skimming across the ground. It actually looks like we're going to be hitting the ground. Burn the engines. The altimeter says that we're rising, but then again, the altimeter cannot predict the topography of the land above us. You see a shadow. Bottom right-ish, you can see a shadow. You can see it getting close towards us, and we miss. Which is rather good. Oh, look at the waveform of this audio. When I did that, yeah, look at that. That's weird. As I commentate, I have two monitors in my setup. As I commentate, I have the left monitor, which shows what the footage I recorded and edited together looks like. And on the right monitor, I have the waveform of my voice being recorded in Audacity. And I just like to watch the waveform. You may think that I watched the video, but, for those of you who are long-term subscribers, you know this isn't the case. We undock our ship, not fully fueled, and we start burning backwards because the mountain that we just passed over seems like a really good place to land. So I decide to actually burn back, reverse the direction of my orbit, and go land over there. But yeah, for those of you who have watched this channel for a long time, and there are some of you out there who have watched this for a very long time, HOCgaming has been around for about 3 years now, and some of you have been with me that entire time. Which is really cool. I can't understand how you can stand the channel. Stand said too many times then. But, words. Harvey has encountered an error and needs to shut down. Or is it restart? What was I talking about? Oh yes, for those of you who have been watching these videos for a long time, you know that I don't need to look at the video to commentate. I say that I could do a series where you guys send in video footage of your own missions and I commentate over it. Majority of the time, it will be playing in the background and I'd be talking about my own things. I'd probably spend 90% of each video blabbering on about things not remotely to do with KSP or even space in general, and about 10% actually talking about the events in the video. And even when I do talk about the events in the video, I make up weird metaphors and start talking about shopping trolleys. Oh yeah, and we landed this module safely, and we get out and plant a flag. And how well this is going is merely a warning that it's about to get an awful lot worse. I was insightful enough to realise that at this point in time during the recording. I wonder, how many of you find this annoying? Like the way that I just ignore the commentary, the video even. Ignore the video completely. If you do, why the hell are you watching me? Honestly. It is me, it is who I am, as I've previously... excuse me. As I have previously established, this is who I am. I'm a bit of a unique person like that. Excuse me, God, I'm burping. I drank some coffee earlier. 1 spoonful of coffee with 2 sweeteners in it. I didn't mean to put 2 sweeteners in, that's a lie, I did. I just say I didn't mean to try and avoid the blame of people saying that's really unhealthy and or makes you a sissy. Because having sweet coffee is not something you would attribute to a man who has this voice. Then again, having this voice is not something you would attribute to a child, but it happened anyway. I came out of the womb talking like this, honestly. I was told today by my physics teacher that the two people in the school who have the deepest voices are my chemistry teacher and me. Which is really weird, because I swear I've heard plenty of people in my school with deeper voices. It seems to be a thing in Britain that a lot of people my age have relatively deep voices. I guess it's when I do my public speaking persona like this, I just kind of really pile it on. Go down to those lower ranges. Get to the depth. And then when I think something's exciting, I reach up and I go to the higher ones. Not quite like that. Oh yeah, the mission, sorry, I forgot to mention, the mission finished. There we go, we landed. Yay! That's all well and good, isn't it? And now we have the awesome task of bringing back the transfer engine. Because my preview window has gone black. Oh well, I wasn't looking at it anyway. We landed both the modules and... yes, we landed all 16 Kerbals successfully. In this video, not a single Kerbal died. But don't worry, there's time. There's still time. We still got time. Your bet hasn't failed completely yet. But yeah, not a single Kerbal has died so far, which is a first for the last project. So I think a round of applause are in order. I honestly think a round of applause. Don't clap yourself, Harvey, that's a bit weird. Then again, Harvey's a bit weird, so I'll continue clapping. But yeah, so not a single Kerbal has died. This has been the first properly successful mission out of the series so far. And because we actually have a fair amount of fuel left, even, we can take this transfer engine home. There's one that's in orbit around Val, which is completely out of fuel, I think. And if I'd thought about this at this point in time, I would have transferred this engine to that one around Val, given half the fuel to it, or, well, no, docked to it, and then taking them both back. Sadly, I didn't think to do that, and so it didn't happen. I should have. Because these engines are finite, we have a finite supply of them, and these are the nuclear ones, which are the ones we're going to be using the most. So it's important that we actually conserve them and don't recklessly destroy them. But there we go, that's it pretty much finished. We can take the engine back to Kerbin, and we can sort it out. Get it into an orbit prograde. Set up an aerobraking maneuver in order to actually try and get us a rendezvous with one of our stations so that we can refuel it. Because remember, the RCS is really low. The monopropellant after the last episode was really, really low. So anyway, I set up a maneuver node, bring down the periapsis to something reasonable, and find out that if we aerobrake sufficiently to bring our apoapsis down to around 370 kilometers above the surface of Kerbin, then we should be slowing down enough to get a transfer get an intersect with one of our stations, which actually happens to be a graveyard, a booster graveyard from our launch stages. It's just like a supply of fuel that I couldn't be bothered to dock together into any big stations. It's the leftovers from launch. And weirdly enough, to actually burn off this much Delta V, because we did have a rather swift re-entry. Our periapsis around Kerbal, the sun, was down near Eve's orbit, and considering we were coming out from Joule, we were pretty damn fast. And as a result, our periapsis around Kerbin, the aerobraking calculator told me, had to be around 26 kilometers above the surface. 26 kilometers. That's usually grounds for, deorbiting completely. 26 kilometers, for me, is unheard of for doing an aerobraking maneuver. And still having an apoapsis of over 300 kilometers high anyway. So this was a bit of a frightening maneuver, considering I'm not quick-loading, as has already been established. I'm saying that's quite a lot now, aren't I? As has already been established. Oh well. And that's it. That's pretty much everything that I have to say for this video. We got our intersect, a bit of light burning, just to bring that back. And here is the booster graveyard. 2 launch stages docked together for convenience's sake. A bit of a supply of fuel in case we need it at any point, like now. This is when we need it. It's nice, it's useful having something in a low orbit like this. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this episode of The Last Project. The next... Oh, my monitors have gone offline due to inactivity. Power saving mode. Interesting. Oh well, I didn't need the video anyway. Yes, thank you for watching. The next episode might be closer to home. You've been wondering whether I'm going to be including the Moon and Minmus in our Celestial Body Count, and we are. So I'm thinking we might go to the Moon and Minmus in episode 6. Make sure to... I won't say subscribe, but if you want to subscribe, you could subscribe. Simply by saying the word subscribe is not indicative of the fact that I'm trying to use psychology to make you think about the idea of subscribing, and so inadvertently get you to do so. I wouldn't say that at all. I would instead just say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode.